Josh Brolin.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Common sticks marker.
No. Sorry.
Mark. Common sticks marker.
Obviously, every actor wants to work with the Coens, you know. I don't think anybody knows why until they actually end up on the set with the Coens. But if you look back at this oeuvre of film that they've done, you know, from one film to the next, they were so disjointed in their interests. And yet each film in itself is a whole, like, incredible entity.
They are very American directors, and I think that all of their movies are deeply American. So you are a Spanish actor, and that's never going to happen, the chance of working with them. So when they offered me this, I was like pinching myself, saying, I can't believe that I'm going to work with them.
It was so obvious that, yes, I wanted to work with them that I didn't think about the reasoning behind it. You just do. But I suppose it was the fact that they wanted to work with me, you know? It's like, that's just like, okay, yeah, that's all it took.
Joel and Ethan are the appropriate directors for this book. They're very bright people, and they can read, and they had an interest in representing the book honestly.
With most directors, you know, you see a connection between each film. You see a through line to the director's style and all that. And I thought what was so enticing for me to want to work with them is you look at The Big Lebowski, you think it's the same directors who directed Lebowski, who did No Country for Old Men, who did Barton Fink, and you go, I don't see the connection at all, you know? I mean, they're amazingly iconoclastic in the way that, you know, what they feel personally at that moment, that's what they go for, as opposed to what did we just do, what should we do to complement that. So for me, it was like I had no idea what I was getting into, you know, in working with the Coens. You know, where are we going to go from here?
Oh,
I read it and I could see exactly why they might be drawn to it. I mean, not knowing them at the time, but knowing the films that they've made, and it's that lovely thing they can do with seemingly dark material and sort of bring the humour just kind of jumps out at you. There's a lovely balance. What are you gonna do?
I'm fixing to do something dumber than hell, but I'm going anyways. If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.
I've never been so comfortable on a set, and I've never been surrounded by so many comfortable people. There was no shouting, there was no last-minute trauma about dialogue not working, or, you know, I think it's that they work so hard before everybody's in a room together, you know, to make sure that doesn't happen. They work long and hard on the script, and they'll work very long and hard on casting, as far as me and Josh were concerned. But I think that just shows you why they do what they do. They're very good at putting people together.
when Llewellyn calls, just tell him I can make him safe. Of course, they slaughter steers a lot different these days. Use an air gun. Shoots out a little rod about that far into the brain, sucks right back in. Animal never knows what hit him.
Why are you telling me that, Sheriff?
I don't know.
What the Coens did is they kind of simplified Sheriff Bell's character. You know, I know in the book there's more, I don't know, reminiscence on guilt and what he did in Vietnam. And here you have a guy who's looking at my character, not wanting my character to make the same mistakes he's made.
You think this boy Moss has got any notion of the sorts of sons of bitches that are hunting him?
I don't know, he ought to. He's seen the same things I've seen, and it certainly made an impression on me.
So not to get into a place later in life where he's looking back in this melancholic way. Whereas I think there's a major connection between Chigurh and Moss in principle and integrity, just on opposite ends of the spectrum. For Chigurh, it's more about fate. You know, I mean, he feels that what he's doing, it's almost like he has no control. He's just a messenger of fate. So he's just listening to what needs to happen next, and he just does it.
Would you hold still, please, sir?
He's a worker, he's a laborer of fate. Whereas Moss is more about integrity and principle and reaction of, you know, for the love of his wife. And I think everything that comes out of Moss is out of his appreciation, out of the future for his kids or whatever. That's why he makes the decision to take the money.
What's in the satchel?
It's full of money.
That'll be the day. Where'd you get the pistol?
At the getting place.
Did you buy that gun?
No, I found it.
Willin.
What? Quit your hollering.
Why their relationship works and why their humor works is because there's a trust there. Because basically they're quite rude to each other.
Keep running that mouth of yours, I'm gonna take you in the back and screw you.
Big talk. But because there's so much love there, and that's understood, and I think she would travel to the ends of the earth for him, and he thinks he's doing her this great thing.
You all retired?
Willin,
Yes, ma'am.
you're coming back, ain't you?
I shall return.
And it's just heartbreaking because they've got the best thing, you know, from the get-go, from the very first scene. They've got everything they could possibly, you know, need. They didn't need the money.
The tricky part of playing Chigurh was how to portray somebody that doesn't have any kind of a struggle, contradiction, personal needs or goals, and he's exactly the same person that in the beginning. And how to do it in a way that people are related to him and not see him like a machine, like a Terminator kind of thing. But instead they are related to him as a human being. Like you can tell that there is blood inside of him. That was the challenge. I always saw the character like being somebody that is connected to something. It's like when you are talking to somebody that has an earplug on the ear and he's talking to you, but at the same time he's, I don't know, hearing soccer game, and you realize that he's here, but he's not really here, and that's very uncomfortable to watch.
Where does it work?
Sir, I ain't at liberty to give out no information about our residents.
Where does it work?
Did you not hear me? We can't give out no information.
That's what I tried to do with Chigurh. Like he's here, but he's in someplace else, because his duty is to bring fate to your life and makes you face the reality of what is going to happen to you, whether you like it or not, beyond his needs or his personal goals. Like, this is nothing personal between you and me. This is what is going to happen to you.
No me mates.
So in order to bring that, I tried to portray somebody that is here but not here. And that can be read as craziness or insanity. And that can be related to and understand it in a way that they want to know more about him.
What business is it of yours? Where I'm from? Friendo?
The more I see it, the more I see the characters come alive. I mean, they from the first screening, they're very real. But you know, there's such beautiful, subtle performances there that you kind of can take for granted the first time you might watch it. And you know, the gas station attendant, and he's amazing. He's really, really amazing. And I could watch that scene forever, quite happily.
I didn't mean nothing by it.
Didn't mean nothing.
Just passing the time. If you don't want to accept that, I don't know what else I can do for you.
I loved Javier's scene with the proprietor. It's a scene that makes me laugh. It's a scene that makes me cringe. I think that's an incredible scene.
Will there be something else?
I don't know. Will there?
Is something wrong
With what?
with anything?
Is that what you're asking me? Is there something wrong with anything?
Will there be anything else?
You already asked me that.
You're watching a scene that doesn't have theoretically nothing in particular that strikes you right away. But when you see it over and over, you realize that they are working with elements that makes you feel very attracted, but at the same time very uncomfortable. Like something is happening, and I don't know what is that. Even I don't know if I want to know, if I want to know what's going to happen, especially with Shiger.
Call it.
Call it.
Yes.
That's the way the Coens are able to construct behaviors through every aspect, through the way they shot it, the way they put it together, by other characters' reactions. So there's something that belongs to the Coens, but the Coens makes it very strong to watch.
Well done. Don't put it in your pocket.
Sir?
Don't put it in your pocket. It's your like a quarter.
There are things in this movie that when you see it over and over, you understand much better what's in the movie, the depth that is in the movie. And also there are spectacular scenes, I don't know, like it comes to my mind now the chasing of the dog to Josh Brolin in the river. I mean, it's so much tension there in the way that it's shot, and it's great.
Roger Deakins is so good with big exteriors, and I really enjoy the big wide shots. I like the light and the way the country looks, the colors. I just love the country, and I like to see it.
And the scene, for me personally, the one that I did with Woody in the hospital, is, for me, the most satisfying scene.
Look, you gotta give me this money. I got no other reason to protect you.
It's too late. I spent it. About $1.5 million on whores and whiskey, and the rest of it just sort of blew it in.
The intention was to create kind of a man boy in that scene, and I felt like I at least pulled it off, basically.
How do you know he's not on his way to Odessa?
Why would he go to Odessa?
Kill your wife?
There's an anxiety underlying all of this story, having to do with something that might be called alienation from life as we used to know it. Things that we've always taken for granted somehow seem to be rendered unreal. People are just not nice. They don't say sir and ma'am. And they make multi-million-dollar drug deals and kill each other over it.
What's it leading to? You know, if you'd have told me 20 years ago, I'd see children walking the streets of our Texas towns with green hair, bones in their noses, I just flat out wouldn't have believed you.
Signs and wonders. But I think once you quit hearing sir and ma'am, the rest is soon to follow.
Oh, it's the tide. It's the dismal tide.
The thing about the Old West, I think it's a generational thing. I mean, when you look at what Sheriff Bell says in the story, he's looking back and he's saying, when people start saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, or when they stop saying that everything changes. But I think that's the same way every generation, no matter how far back you go, the kids are always challenging their parents, and the parents are always saying the world's going, you know, to crap, and what are we going to do, and what happens from here, like it's the end of the line. And yet the next generation comes and the same thing happens again, and the next generation comes and the same thing happens again. I think what's unique to the West is that it's a lot grittier, it's a lot poorer, it's more poverty-stricken, so there's a lot more character involved in each decision, you know? There's a lot more consequence involved in each decision.
Give me that.
I've been working for almost 20 years now in Spain, and only one time I had to hold a gun in a movie. So, yes, when I read the material, then I have some problems with that. But we talk about it, and I know that if there is somebody capable of transcend what violence represents on screen, is the Coens. Violence is something that exists in every of their movies, but there's something behind that that made the movie goes to some place else. And also, I thought that Shiger himself, he embodies violence, and he brings a message with it. And what we see through Shiger is the nonsense of violence at all, because he represents somebody that comes from out of nowhere, he goes to nowhere, he just creates misery and pain. It's like an accident for the rest of the characters. And I think that's exactly what violence is. It's something that happens and that doesn't resolve anything. Even if people think that violence can help you to fix things, like wars or personal situations, violence only creates misery. And then I understood that that would be a good thing to represent.
No, he's not scary at all, to answer your question. He's one of the funnest human beings I've ever had the opportunity to work with. We had a ball, you know. Everybody thinks because of the tone and nature of this film that, you know, we were all staying in character off the set. But as you well know, you know the reality.
Jaws really saved my life because I was there for a lot of time with that haircut, living with it because it was my real hair. And I was shooting 1, 2, 3 days per week. I was going to the set, I kill people and go back to sleep to my hotel. So there was a moment where I didn't know what I was doing. So I think Jaws, being a great actor like he is, and you can tell in his performance, he's a great guy that make my life easier and funnier and help me to really move out from where I was. This is not about method acting. It's about when you have to portray somebody like Shiger, it stays with you. Whatever you like it or not, it stays with you, and you feel disattached, emotionally disattached to people in somehow, because you're portraying somebody that has that problem. And he rescued me from there and took me to a more kind of funnier place where we have a blast, actually.
The movie brings up the question, does anybody deserve their fate, and can anybody control the fate, you know? I mean, even Shiger, who is, you know, the Grim Reaper incarnate, gets maimed by Moss. So what does that mean? Does it mean he's a ghost? Does it mean he's truly the Grim Reaper? Does it mean that he's as human as everybody else? You know, whereas toward the end of the movie, when I think you have the most hope for Moss is when everything changes again. So it just proves to you again and again, and I think that's what Cormac, I don't know if that was his intention, that's what I got from it, that you can feel that you have it all figured out, and then you go around the next corner, and then bang, fate is there, and it's another obstacle that you'll either get through, you'll prevail, or you won't.
I knew this one done with. I'm a big believer in fate, actually. But as far as Carla Jean's attitude towards it is, I think she can see the madness in Shiger's strong belief in fate.
Call it.
And weirdly, even though she doesn't believe in fate, she knows that she's done for. So she kind of is fated. I know, she was crazy when I saw you sitting there. I knowed exactly what was in store for me.
The scene with Kelly is one of my favorites because of the tone that she brought in the scene. I think she's an amazing actress, and what she had to bring, it wasn't easy at all, and she brought it. And when I saw it, that created an effect on me because there's a tone there that explains very well, I think, in my opinion, the tone of the movie itself, where it looks like nothing happens, but there's a whole of gravitas in there. And especially in Kelly's performance, that is really moving.
I ain't gonna call it.
Call it.
The coin don't have no say. It's just you.
I got here the same way the coin did.
How'd you sleep?
I don't know. Had dreams.
Well, you got time for 'em now. Anything interesting?
There always is to the party concerned.
And Tom, I'll be polite.
All right, then. Two of them. Both had my father in them. It's peculiar.
I worked on it a great deal, 2 or 3 times a day, up until the day I shot it. So I put a lot of work into it just to get the rhythm right and to be sure that I didn't forget the words. And I thought about what it means, and have never prepared myself to tell anybody what it means because I was so busy trying to make it happen. It was cold, and there was snow on the ground. He rode past me and kept on going, never said nothing going by, just rode on past. He had his blanket wrapped around him and his head down. And it seems like he's saying that he had the feeling that if he could endure the cold and the darkness long enough, he would rejoin his father, where his father would have made a warm place for him to go to. And in the dream, I knew that he was going on ahead. He's fixing to make a fire somewhere out there in all that dark and all that cold. And I knew that whenever I got there, he'd be there. It's about dreaming, hoping. I see, I can't be very specific about this, and neither can anyone else. That's why it's a novel and a movie. That's why it's a performance and not a lecture. But it's about some contemplation of the idea of hope and whether there is a reason to hope or not. That's the question, and the question's more important than the answer. Then I woke up.
I don't know if it's a hopeful ending. I just think it's a reminder that, you know, you take advantage of every moment as fully as you possibly can because you never know what's going to happen in the next moment. So I think that that's the optimism of not only Cormac, but the Coens. You know, they get into this violent mode and it seems very dark, and yet there's a message there to be siphoned from the story. It's take advantage of every moment to its fullest extent, and especially after watching this movie, all you want to do is go hug your kids and kiss your wife, you know?
I think the ending is one of the powerful things and what makes the difference between some film directors and some others. I think the statement that the Coens do with that ending is one of the reasons why they are so great. Because it's like, this is our proposal, and now it's on you to make up your mind.
Well, I mean, the fact that I heard, and maybe this is rumor, maybe it's the truth, that Roger Ebert, which I think is one of the greatest compliments that we've gotten, has seen the movie 4 times. He didn't have to see the movie 4 times. He saw the movie 4 times because he's interested in seeing it 4 times. And I think that more and more is revealed every time you've seen it, you know, every time you do see it. The thing with the Coens is they create enough ambiguity, especially through Chigurh and Moss and the relationship and all that, that you can go back and you can revisit it and you'll notice something else every time you see it. You know, whatever ambiguity was there, which isn't necessarily ambiguous, it's just how the person watching the movie perceives it. Oh, wow, I thought that. I was caught up in the violence the first time. The second time I got into the relationships. The third time I got into the terrain.
I think it's like with really good literature. With really good books, you can go back time and again and there's always something that stands out more than it did in a previous read. In good films, you can watch them again and again. I've got my handful of films that I watch for comfort, just because I know I can trust them. And I think that Joel and Ethan, they have that about them. They're films you can go back to time and again, and there's always something that you've missed.
My behind the scenes, by the way, is not going to be on the DVD, which I'm really fucking pissed about. Get that on film.
What are you trying to say, Josh? Don't sugarcoat it.
Thank you, Dave. It's really nice to meet you.
Oh, jeez. Are you okay?
Knocking myself out.
Is that all right? I felt a little nervous. All right, you're like, what?